Welcome back, students. In the previous videos we discussed about different types of immune systems. What is innate immunity, what is acquired immunity, that is one type of classification, and what is active immunity, what is passive immunity, that is one type of classification, and what is the need to study the immune system and what are the bases for the study of immune system. Those things also we discussed. And what is the importance of vaccination and what is immunization programs. So already we discussed that, and the main principle which is laid behind the vaccination is memory. So if a parasite is entered in our body, what are the cells, what are the different types of cells which will interact with the antigens? Antigens are released by the parasites, and against the antigens antibodies are released in our body. Okay, and one more thing we discussed in the previous classes: what is the cell mediated immunity and what is the humoral immunity. So humoral immunity is mainly deals with the B cells, because B cells are capable of producing antibodies. So antibodies will be circulated freely in the blood. So whenever the antigen is exposed to the antibodies, it will go and interacts and neutralize them. So that is humoral immunity. And what is cell mediated immunity? Here what will happen? The T cells has receptors like T4, T8, like that receptors are there. So it will assemble all the antigens which are freely scattered in the blood. They will assemble at one place. As a result of that, it is providing the space for the attachment of different types of antigens. So it is very easy for the B cells to identify the antigens, and immediately the antigens will come, antibodies will be released by the B cells and kills the antigens. So these are two types of immunities: cell mediated and humoral immunity. And what is a main property which is acts as a backbone for the discovery of vaccines? That is a memory based. Either it may be rDNA technology, or it may be the parasite or the pathogen. For example, the heat killed or attenuated viral whole virion. That means they will inactivate the disease causing proteins and they will inject into the human body in the form of injections. So as a result of that, it will not cause any disease, but our human body recognizes that inactivated viral particle as a foreign particle and creates the antibodies. So antibodies will be stored in our body. Whenever the real viral particle will enter in our body, these ready-made antibodies will go and directly they will attack the virus. If we didn't take the vaccine, it will take some time for the body to recognize that viral particles, and it will take some more time for preparing the antibodies. So by that time the viral population will be increased in our body and it will cause the severe damage. That's why it is very best to take the vaccine to prevent the viral load. Even if the disease will cause, the severity is very less. That is in the case we are observing here in the COVID-19 pandemic situation. The people who are taking vaccine, 90% they are protected, because already antibodies are there. Even if the disease will come, even the infection will come, the severity is very less. For example, the vaccine will protect the person from death to hospitalization in some cases, and in some cases even it will not lead to hospitalization also. It will reduce the disease at the home isolation step itself. So this is the advantage of taking vaccine. Okay, so today we will have a look on what are the different types of organs which are present in the immune system. So those organs are called as lymphoid organs. So how many types are there? What are the uses of these lymphoid organs, and in which organ which type of immune reactions will take place, we will see in detail today. So in our body we have lymphoid organs. There are mainly two types of lymphoid organs. The first one is primary lymphoid organs and the second one is secondary lymphoid organs. secondary lymphoid organs. So what is the difference between primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs? This is very important. We have to clear the concept here. Primary lymphoid organs means the place or the site or the organ in which the lymphocytes is produced, and the lymphocytes are undergone maturation, or the lymphocytes makes itself favorable for the attachment of the antigens. That means it is preparing the receptors to make sure that it will go into the blood circulation, the antigens will come and bind. So how many types? The place where the synthesis may happen, the maturation may happen, and preparing itself for the to attract the antigens. So these three places we can call as primary lymphoid organs. So what are those? In our body we have two important primary lymphoid organs. The first one is bone marrow, and the second one is thymus. The second one is thymus. So here in the bone marrow, almost all the blood cells will be formed. Red blood cells, white blood cells. We have different types of white blood cells: basophils, monocytes, eosinophils, neutrophils, monocytes, macrophages. Different types of white blood cells are there. Lymphocytes. So all will be prepared here. So it is the site of erythropoiesis. That means the formation of red blood cells, and it is the site for leukopoiesis, that is formation of white blood cells. Here in the topic of immune system, we will discuss about white blood cells because they only plays an important role in the immunological reactions. Okay, and thymus also. Here what will happen? Some of the lymphocytes will be produced here, and here what will happen? The process of maturation happens here. We have B lymphocytes, we have T lymphocytes. The process of maturation happens here. See, here we have to clear the concept, either production or maturation or making the receptors active for the reception of antigens. Either of the three processes will take place in the primary lymphoid organs. And we have a list of secondary lymphoid organs also. Those are spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, and Peyer's patches of small intestine, Peyer's patches of small intestine, and appendix. Appendix is a vestigial organ which is present in the human body. It is a vestigial organ. During evolution, its functions was highly reduced. Okay, so these are the list of secondary lymphoid organs. So what is the definition of secondary lymphoid organs? The organs are the site where the lymphocytes became functional. What it means? Became functional means it is ready. Whenever the antigen is attacking, it is in the ready stage. It will go and it can kill the antigen. So it is becoming functional. But in the primary lymphoid organs, it is becoming matured, not functional. Even if the antigen can come, it cannot do anything at that stage. That is immature to mature stage. See, here I can mention immature. In the simple forms, I am describing that immature to mature. But in the secondary lymphoid organs, mature to functional. This is the difference. So you have to observe this difference carefully. In the case of primary lymphoid organs, the immature lymphocytes are becoming mature lymphocytes. But in the case of secondary lymphoid organs, the matured lymphocytes are becoming the functional lymphocytes. These functional lymphocytes only have the capability to fight against the antigens. Okay, so this is the difference, and these are the different organs we are having in the list of primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs. And here I can describe you about spleen. Two functions it can do. It is the site of erythropoiesis in the case of red blood cells. That means the red blood cells will be produced here also. And one more important thing here, it is also an erythroclastic organ. It is also an erythroclastic. I had given you these things in the first year itself. Erythroclastic organs. So what it will destroy the RBC once its lifespan was done. RBC lives for 120 days. So how it recognizes, how the spleen recognizes whether the RBC is live or not? How it is known? If it is a man, by seeing another man, we can tell it is in a live condition or he is dead. But what about the spleen? How it recognizes the live RBC and the dead RBC? Because the RBC which is completing 120 days of its lifespan, for example, this is an RBC. Its outer membrane has changed somewhat its chemical structure, chemical composition. And what will happen here? An important acid, sialic acid. Sialic acid will be accumulated on the membranes. So once the spleen will check whether on the membrane a sialic deposits are there or not, sialic acid deposits are there or not. If that acid deposits are there, then it came to know that okay, this RBC lifespan was completed, so I have to destroy it. So like that it will recognize based on the chemical composition of the RBC. The live RBC doesn't have the sialic acid on the outer membranes. Understand? So like that it will recognize it is acting as an factory, producing factory of RBC, and it is also acting as a destroying organ of RBC. So that is another thing with regarding to spleen. And the Peyer's patch of the small intestine, it is also a lymphoid tissue which will act as a part of immune system. A person which is infecting with typhoid, why the doctor told that don't take a spicy food for 10 days or 15 days? Because the typhoid will affect the Peyer's patches, the lymphoid tissue which is present in the small intestine. So if you take the spicy food, ulcers will form and it will further affect the Peyer's patches. So that's why they will advise to take only normal food like curd rice, like that. And appendix we know, and the tonsils. The primary, if you are any change in the water or anything, what will happen? Our tonsils will be swollen because the more immune reactions occurs there, and as a result of fight between the foreign organisms and the lymphoid cells, here inflammation we can observe. So that is a tonsils will be inflamed. Okay, this is about the lymphoid organs. And all this will act as a filters for microbes. If any microbe will happen in the lymphoid organs itself, they will trap the microbes and they will try to neutralize the effect, and if it is dominated, they will kill the microbes itself. Okay. That is about different types of lymphoid organs present in a human body. And I will give you one more thing here, one more point. The primary lymphoid organs list I had given in bone marrow and thymus, which is in the human beings. And one more thing here, important point, bursa fabricius. Bursa fabricius. It is a primary lymphoid organ in the birds. Birds have primary lymphoid organ, that is bursa fabricius. Okay, this one you can note down. And here we will discuss now some infections which are related to the immune system. So what are those? HIV. HIV. That is an infection. So what it is? So which virus will cause this infection? And what are the symptoms? And what is the diseased condition? And what are the reasons for coming this infection, behind this infection? And what are the preventive measures, if you can take, how we can avoid this infection? What are the preventive measures? What are the treatment procedures? What are the diagnostic methods? How you can detect this disease? And who is the affected people? Who can be affected by this disease? Who will be more prone to this disease? So all these details we will discuss now. The full form of HIV is human immunodeficiency virus. Human immunodeficiency virus. So this is a virus which belongs to family that is retroviral family. So it is a retrovirus because this belongs to the retrovirus family. And what is the genetic material here? The genetic material, the genome which is present in the HIV is RNA, ribonucleic acid, RNA. And it is first detected in 1981, and within the span of these years it spreads all over the world, and the death rate is also high, because ultimately the person who is infected with the HIV, he has to die, because still there is no vaccine, there is no specific drug for that. So we will tell the reasons why the scientists are not able to discover the vaccine for this. So all these things we will discuss today. We have to remember that the genetic material of the HIV is RNA, ribonucleic acid, and once it is entered into the human body, how it will turn and what are the different types of symptoms we can see here. So all these things we will discuss now. This will somewhat involves with the molecular biology already, which we discussed. So what is that in the molecular biology? The theory of central dogma, here we have to know. The theory of central dogma. So what it is? From DNA, mRNA will be formed. mRNA will be formed, and from mRNA, proteins will be formed. So this first process, DNA to mRNA, that is transcription. That is transcription. And mRNA to proteins, that is translation. That process is translation. This is a normal process which occurs in all the organisms. Each and every cell undergoes this process only. But now we will compare this with the RNA virus, that is HIV, RNA containing virus. It is having the genetic material RNA. So RNA cannot produce directly the proteins. mRNA will produce the proteins. RNA cannot produce the proteins directly. So what is the fate of this virus then? If it is not produced proteins, how it will survive? Because the virus also contains the protein coat. So to protect itself, how it can? Because this is the structure of HIV. Inside that, it is having genetic material. Outside, the protein coat is there. If protein coat is not there, our immune system will easily destroy the genetic material. And as a result of that, the virus will die. But according to the theory of evolution, every organism has to sustain in the nature by withstand all the difficulties. Then only it can survive. That is survival of the fittest. So to survive itself, it is producing a protein coat. So it needs proteins. So for the formation of protein, again it has to follow the theory of central dogma. But here it is containing only RNA. So how it will produce the proteins? So here a peculiar process will be happen here. So what is that? Here it is only having the capability. No other organism that is having life cannot do this process. Okay? So what is that process? It is undergoing the reverse transcription. Reverse transcription. Okay, that means from RNA it will produce DNA. See here, this is the transcription, and this process is reverse transcription. Reverse transcription. And the enzyme which is helpful, for this process is reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcriptase. Getting? So by the help of this reverse transcriptase enzyme, it will produce DNA. And again from DNA, it will form mRNA, and from mRNA, it will form proteins. So it is having one additional step. So here, all the RNA containing viruses are undergoing this process of reverse transcription. Okay, this is the major thing you have to understand. RNA to DNA with the help of reverse transcriptase enzyme, and from DNA to again mRNA and then proteins. So this is the life cycle, how it will sustain in the nature by the production of proteins. That means reverse transcription, transcription and translation. If protein is not there, easily the immune system will destroy. So I will share you one more concept here. Now we are seeing the COVID-19. All this process is common in the labs which are dealing with the virus. But here nobody knows these things before COVID. But after COVID, we are listening the words RT-PCR test. What is RT-PCR? RT-PCR is nothing but reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. So why they are using the reverse transcriptase here? Because what is the purpose of test? They have to know whether the person is infected with that virus or not. So that is the purpose of the test. So to detect from the sample whether the virus is there or not, they are using RT-PCR. So what is RT-PCR? This virus contains RNA. Coronavirus also contains RNA. RNA, as we know that it is not stable. It is highly having the catalytic property, and it is continuously changes its structure. this is the case if the RNA is present inside the virus. Now we are taking outside the RNA for diagnostic purpose. So we cannot expect how more it will be changed the structures, how more it will be degraded, how quickly. Because maintenance of RNA is very critical. It's very sensitive. We cannot maintain it unless until we have at most laboratory, at most advanced facilities. So for that purpose, what we will do is, we will take the sample from the either nasal discharge, nasal swab, or from the oral region. They will take the sample and they will put that bud in the medium. So that liquid is medium. So what is the purpose of medium? If the medium is not there, the virus itself destroy there, because it also needs food, and also we store preservatives also needed. So in that medium, some nutrients and preservatives will be there. So after taking that sample into the lab, what will happen? They will take that medium and they will centrifuge it, and they will isolate the RNA first of all. RNA isolation they will do. And from that, because the basic genetic material present in the virus is RNA, so they will isolate the RNA. And storing RNA is highly not possible. So they will convert that RNA into DNA by the help of this enzyme, reverse transcriptase. So that's why we are calling that test as a reverse transcriptase PCR test. So basically what they will do, they will convert this RNA into DNA. DNA is stable, they can store for many years, no problem. Okay, so they have the viral DNA. Okay, but when they are collecting the sample, there is a 1 DNA molecule or 10 DNA molecules or 20 DNA molecules. But that is not sufficient for diagnostic purpose, because 10 or copies cannot be recognized by the machine, by the diagnostic machine. So for that purpose, what they will do, they want to multiply it like Xerox. But we will put only 1 copy, but we can take out thousands of copies. Getting? So for that purpose, they do polymerase chain reaction. They will do polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction. So what it is, polymerase, DNA polymerase. That means they are doing the replication of DNA multiple times. Already we studied the DNA replication. So by taking 1 copy, they will get 1 billion copies of DNA within 2 hours or 3 hours. So if the concentration of DNA is more, we can easily detect the virus. So that's why the test is known as reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction, RT-PCR. So they exploited this concept, reverse transcription, and these enzymes will be prepared in the lab based on the sequence of the RNA. So that's why this process is a costlier process, because these enzymes and maintaining the virus, RNA, DNA it is a very highly precious. It will contain more, deals with more money, but the result is very accurate, 90% accurate. But now we are taking rapid tests, those are not accurate that much. But RT-PCR is 90 up to 90%. It is an accurate type of diagnosis. Okay, and the HIV virus also the same thing, reverse transcription. Now, what we'll do after, now come to HIV virus. Here what will happen? After entering into the host, the virus machinery will be activated, and RNA to DNA it will turn, and that DNA will be interacted in the host cell DNA, and slowly it will direct the entire cellular DNA and undergoes multiple copies because the host cells also divides. So along with the division, these viral particles also undergoes division and multiplies number, and the population after some days it will be more. So like that it will replicated in the host body, that is in the humans, because it is integrating with the cellular DNA or the cellular machinery of the host. So whenever the host is undergone DNA replication, this DNA is also replicated and produce so many proteins, and after that all the proteins will assemble and forms into a viral particle. So this is how it undergoes replication. And first of all, it will infect which cells? The HIV infects which type of cells? It will infect T helper cells. We have two types of T cells, T helper cells and T cytotoxic cells, that is TH cells, T helper cells, that means T helper cells, and TC cells, T cytotoxic cells. So what is the function of T helper cells? It will alert the other cells, other TC cells. Some parasite is entered, you have to be alert at any time, the war will be declared, so you have to be prepared for that. Like that it will give the alert. But this HIV is what it is doing? It is destroying the communicated cells. For example, India-Pakistan border, it is in the high mountains. So the soldiers which are present in the higher altitudes, they cannot see the other persons at sometimes due to fog or anything, enemies. But our satellite pictures, the ground station will see how, in which direction the enemies are entering by the satellite pictures. If the enemy cuts the satellite communication with the ground station and at the warfield soldiers, what will happen? The communication will not go, and as a result of that, the enemy will be on the upper hand. So like this it is also doing. It is destroying the communicated cells, that is T helper cells. As a result of that, the T cytotoxic cells cannot get the information about the viral particles. So this is how it is replicating, and it is damaging the different types of cells present in the body. Okay, and within 3 years or 4 years after the infection of the HIV, the person is slowly prone to different types of diseases. Because what will happen? The immune system will be reduced, the function will be reduced, it will be deactivated. So as a result of that, that body is prone to all types of diseases like bacterial, viral, fungal disease. So HIV will not cause any effect, but it will reduce the immune system, makes it a deficiency, immune deficiency. So as a result of that, so many bacteria, so many pathogens like bacteria, virus, fungi, and other parasites like toxoplasma, all the parasites will enter into the body and they will cause the respective diseases. So after that stage we can call as AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. HIV is an infection, but the symptoms and the disease is HIV, AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Syndrome is nothing but a group of symptoms. A group of symptoms. That means loss of appetite, loss of weight, muscular fatigueness, and different disease. Even the person is highly prone to different types of small bacterial diseases also. For a healthy person, 1 or 2 days it will be reduced, that infection, but in the HIV infected people, that infection will be last for so many times, so many days. Okay, because the immune system was deactivated or not functional, deficient. So that is about acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So now, what are the diagnostic methods? What are the diagnostic methods? How we can recognize, how you can detect the infection? Diagnosis. The diagnosis, here we have ELISA. ELISA means enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. Assay means test. Enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. In this, they will use different types of enzymes and they will detect the virus. Okay. And how it will spread from one person to another person? How it will, this infection, how this virus will be spread from one person to another person? So this will go through during blood transfusions, because mainly one more thing, if you collect the HIV virus, and you can eat, no infection will cause, because our digestive system will digest those. Because of highly acidic enzymes, it will be killed. But even a single viral particle, if you inject into the blood, then it will multiply into million times and it will cause the infection. That means here the virus is propagating or spreading through the blood. Okay. So during blood transfusions, for example, a person is met with an accident, a loss of blood was happened. So immediately they will they need a donor who will give the blood. If you didn't do the test of that person donor blood, and that donor has HIV, that HIV infection will comes directly to this recipient. So every donor, before taking blood, they will do some kinds of tests. What are the infections they have, like hepatitis infection, whether the patient donor have this one or not, HIV infection is there or not. Because without any reason, the recipient is getting that disease. A small mistake, like that. And sex with multiple partners. Sex with unknown persons. Here clearly we can tell, because this is not a bad thing. We have to know this is an education. No need to hide anything. Because nowadays each and every village, different NGOs are coming and they are trying to educating the people like anything. Because this is highly propagated in the village areas, rural areas. Because people, they don't know. Prostitution. Due to that prostitution, person, whether it is male or female, it is she or he going and interact with so many persons. If that she or he have the HIV, automatically they will spread to number of persons. And doing sex without protection. So these are the we can call as sexual barriers. They have to use sexual barriers like condoms. See here, a person interacts or sexual interaction with the unknown persons, that is a prostitution. During that, they may get, because if that person has the infection, not only HIV, so many diseases are there, they will easily transmit from one person to another person. And multiple partners. For example, one person has 2 or 3 wives. A person has 3 wives, 1, 2, 3. For example, she has HIV or he has HIV infection. What will happen? Automatically from this person, all the 3 will get the infection. See, due to this person, these 3 innocent people are getting the infection. So we have to avoid the sex with multiple partners. And another thing, another chance of getting this disease, from HIV infected mother. HIV infected